With me now from the Washington newsroom of CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris, and in Phoenix, CBSN political contributor and Republican strategist Rick Davis. Okay, Rick, you have dabbled in Republican politics a very long time. I want to ask you, what do you make of this fallout, this division really within the members of his own party?
Yeah, you could almost imagine that this is already post-election and Donald Trump has lost the election, and now he's pursuing a vendetta against the party who he claims won't have supported him enough. And that will be his theme when he wins or when he loses. He'll go after the party saying, if it hadn't been for you, I could have pulled this thing off. The reality is, if it hadn't been for Trump, he would have had all the support of the Republican Party. I think everybody bent over backwards, especially post-convention, to try and come on board and help him win, but he's made it basically untenable with his really erratic behavior and obscene comments to even support the guy who bears our Republican nomination.
Rick, he does so well, though, with his base by going against the establishment Republican Party. So what does he have to lose by doing this at this point?
Just the election. No big deal. He declared early in the primaries because he felt his base was so strong that he could walk out on Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and it wouldn't affect his vote. That's true, right? He's done some of the craziest things that anybody can remember in politics, and it hasn't affected his vote. The problem is his vote has never been big enough to win. So if he just wants to go down with the ship, play to his base like he did at the convention, like he's doing now, then he's just consigning the party to defeat. If he actually wanted to try and win the presidency, he would have modified his behavior, modified his message, being more inclusive, especially to women and Hispanics and others who have a affinity potentially to support a Republican candidate. But he chose not to do that. And so every time he's had an opportunity to reach out, he's basically reached within and said, to heck with all of you, I'm doing it my way. And his way is going to be great for, just under 200 electoral votes probably, and he's just handing an election victory to Hillary Clinton and blaming everybody else, which is pretty typical of his behavior so far.
Steve, we know there was an emergency call yesterday. RNC Chairman Reince Priebus said that the committee is in full coordination with the Trump campaign, but his comments today, the tweets, just don't seem to give that indication. What do you make of it?
Well, Priebus is right. They are in full coordination with the Trump campaign. It's just not the message that Trump is trying to send to, as Rick pointed out, the base. And so this argument that he's in bed with the establishment is not the argument that he's playing, but the reality is that the RNC has a victory committee that works with the Trump campaign to raise money. They have people from the RNC that are working at Trump Tower to help with organization. So there is complete coordination.
But it doesn't really build goodwill, Steve, if you're dissing the people who are helping to fund your campaign and bankrolling it.
Well, it's not about goodwill at this point. What it's about is everybody saving face. Donald Trump is trying to save face with the base and the Republicans in his party and energize those folks. It's very, as Rick just pointed out, it's sort of a narrow way to run a general election campaign, but that's what he's doing. And in terms of Reince Priebus, the reason why he had to make that call is because he's worried about other Republicans who are on the ballot and wants to make sure that people who are going to be out there voting for Donald Trump are going to be out there voting, period. He wants to make sure that Republicans are going to go out to vote, and that, and he's also basically telling people in the Republican Party, yes, we understand that there's all sorts of rumors out there about what's going on with Trump and I, but to the voters who are supporting Donald Trump, we're not throwing him overboard. And that's important to tell those folks because he needs those folks to vote for people down ballot.
So you're saying there really isn't a divide? You think that there's more coordination than it seems, despite
Well,
the
no, I'm not
tweets?
saying that there isn't a divide. There's a huge divide. But the Republican Party has been dealing with this ever since Barack Obama got elected. We've seen this in 2010 and 2012.
But this is at a different level, Steve. Come on. I mean, the Republican Party is just never been on the same page with him. It seems like when you think they're singing from the same hymn sheet, something goes.
But it's the same fight. You have to understand it's the same fight. There's a significant number of people in the Republican Party who are listening to somebody like Donald Trump. They wanted to go into Washington and smash things up and just break everything. And there's another part of the Republican Party, the establishment part of the Republican Party, that wants to move on, wants to be more inclusive, wants to be able to win a presidential election and speak to voters in a different way. This is a fight that's been going on for years. And so it just happens to be more magnified this year because Donald Trump is so polarizing.
Yeah, I don't think it's as simple as just the establishment versus the outsiders, usually movement conservatives, because now movement conservatives are pulling their support away from Donald Trump. You saw Mike Lee's statement earlier in the weekend. So I think this is metastasizing to being a much broader debate than the classic sort of establishment versus insurgents, which we've seen, throughout the last 25 years of our party. This is really a group of people who want to win an election. And at this stage, the focus is shifting to down ballot races, very similar to what Speaker Ryan has said. He's going to focus on his crew to make sure that they're there, because the decision that a lot of these elected officials are making is Donald Trump has consigned his campaign to a loss, and they want to make sure that they're in power in order to offset whatever programs Hillary Clinton tries to put in place.